Okay, welcome friends. In this video, we're going to learn about several different data types. So crank up a Windows Forms project. And the next stage, this is what we're going to do. I'm going to expand this here. And then I will say the following. I'm going to insert a picture box. So type PIC over here. So type pic. And then grab a picture box and drag and drop it in on the left side of the form, for example. All right, I'm going to expand the size of it so it gets a little bigger. And let's fill it with an image now. So I'm going to click on the little arrow right there. All right, choose the image, click import. All right, and I'm going to add an Archer image and then click open. And then click OK. And this is for you, available for you on the lesson resources, also the same image. And next, what we are going to do is create a description. So imagine it's like a catalog that we are making. We're going to make a description of this Archer object. So on the left side over here, I'm going to add a label. So type LAB into the toolbox search box. Drag and drop a label into the form. All right, enlarge the font on the label. It seems so small. You can barely see that. All right, there you go. And keep in mind that if you want all of the controls to have a big font, just set the font on the form, and then the enlarged font is inherited by all the controls that you stick in also. Keep that in mind, okay? All right, let me set the font on the label control here. So I'm going to say 18 or 17. There you go. So notice that when I set the font on the form, this is the form, it also affects the font on the label. So that's a good way of changing the font of multiple controls at the same time. It's really nice. Okay, I'm going to make this a bit smaller here. All right, move the label a bit over. I hope you can see it clearly now. And what we're going to do is study this object and then make some observations. So take a look at something like the hair color. The hair color is not a number. It's not 5 or 10 or 15. Usually we would say it's blonde or brunette or red or black or brown and so on, correct? Those are words. So to represent the hair color in code, take the following step. Left double click on the form. Now brings you to the form1 underscore load event. So this is after left double clicking. And now I'm going to say this. I'm going to say string. And now we'll say hair color. And I'm going to set it equal to, say, blonde. And terminate with a semicolon. So what this is saying is this. Use the string data type. That is a data type, a type of data you can have. So use string data type for storing sequences of characters like this between double quotes. So specifically, that's a fancy way of saying words like red or blue and so on. All right, so that's one bit of information about the object. Okay, go back into design view. And now take a look. Stare at this thing and ask yourself, would the archer say to you, I have 4.5 arrows? Would the archer say, I have 4.8 arrows or 4.9 arrows or 25.3 arrows? No. Arrows would be represented, the number of arrows that you have would usually be represented using a whole number, like I have 3 arrows or 10 arrows or 15 arrows and so on. Of course, it's true you can have a broken arrow, right? But what's the use of that? So I'm talking about good arrows that you can fire, okay? So here, let's go back into format.cs. And I am going to type the following. I will say here int arrow count and set that equal to, say, 1. Our archer object has 1 arrow, but maybe it's got 5 in the back or 10 put away somewhere, who knows. But the point is that int is short for integer, and basically use this to store whole number values, not values like, say, this. Okay, for 5.65, that's not a whole number. So if you try to store a value like that in this, take a look. It's going to give you an error. You see that? Hover your mouse over it and it says cannot implicitly convert type double to integer. That means the data types are not matched correctly. The one on the right side cannot be saved to the variable on the left. So get rid of that and say it's 1. Okay. Now go to format.cs design view. And now let's take a look at this object again. And another thing that might stand out is the armor. So imagine it's a highly simplified world, and either an archer has armor or it doesn't have armor. That's it. It's a black or white, true or false kind of quantity. True or false variables are represented using the Boolean data type. Some people say Boolean, some people say Boolean, and so on. So go back to form1.cs, and over here I'm going to say the following. True or false kinds of quantities are represented using the bool data type. So the question is something true or is something false? That is how you decide on whether you should use the bool data type. So here I will say the following now. I will say bool and then has arrows, or rather has armor, and set that equal to true. That's it. So you have the data type on the left, bool. You have the name of the variable has armor, and on the right side you have the value of the variable, true. And notice it's blue, so it's a keyword. It has a specific meaning reserved to C#. Okay, next bit. Take a look also at the fact that this is a little figurine. So imagine maybe you go to a store and you buy it. So in that case, there's a price associated with the purchase of this item. Microsoft has this data type called decimal, and it's good for storing monetary values. It's very accurate and reliable, and it's almost designed for that. Okay, so the decimal data type is good for storing monetary values. So go to form1.cs. All right, and here I will say now the following. I will say decimal and then price, and set that equal to something like, for example, maybe it's 2.99. Now take a look. If you try to write 2.99, there's an error. The data types are not matched again. To fix that, put an M right there. And the M now indicates that the 2.99 is to be treated as a decimal data type. That is not the same as, for example, the integer data type. All right. So take a look here. I'm going to say the following. So use decimal data type for storing monetary values, like a price of an object. All right, and one last one is this one. Take a look. So go to form1.cs. And another thing that we can do with this figurine is, for example, measure its height. We can measure, say, from the feet up to the head. And we might measure it to be 6.5 or 6.6 or maybe 6.4 inches or something like that. It's a pretty big figurine. So in that case, when you have a quantity that you can essentially measure with a ruler and there's some numbers after the decimal point, use the double data type. So go to form1.cs, and we're going to say the following. Double height. And then I will say, for example, it's 6.5. And you don't have to put any M or I or anything. Just put 6.5. All right, so here, double data type is good for storing values. Let's do it this way, for storing measured values. So things that you might measure with a ruler physically, you see? Price is good for storing monetary values. Bool or Boolean for true or false values. Int, short for integer, for values that are whole numbers like 1 or 2 or -10, but not 5.4. And string is good for words. And now what we're going to do is print all of these. We're creating like a catalog description of our object on sale, for example. So to make that happen, I'm going to type this. I will say, remember we have a label one.text and then equals, $, double quotes, and I just print out the values of the variables to create a description. So we will say the following. We'll say hair color, colon, and then a space, and between the curly braces, stick in the hair color variable, so hair color. Now, put a slash and an N. That will have the effect of pushing the next bit of data down one line. So the output will be accumulated vertically, not horizontally. So here, take a look. I will say now arrows, and then colon, and then here I will say arrow count. And then I'm going to terminate this with a semicolon. And what I want you to do as an assignment is finish this up. write the rest of the description and then print it. That is your assignment. I'm just going to run the code so that the lesson doesn't take forever. So click start. Give it a second here, and it says hair color blonde, arrows 1. And notice this output is stacked vertically. And the form is kind of big, so you can adjust it if you need to. You see that? There you go. All right, let me close it. So take a few minutes, add code to display the has armor, the price, and the height also.